The multiverse quivered, not from war nor from entropy, but from curiosity. Somewhere in the nothing between everything, a ripple passed through dimensions like the breath of a dreaming god. The Fulcrum stirred. He sat alone, as always, at the edge of a diner that existed beyond form and logic. It resembled a 1950s Earth establishment, not because he required it, but because it pleased him. The cosmic abstracts, eternity, death, oblivion, and infinity, had once visited here in silence, reverence etched in every step. Today, something different approached, something rebellious. From across realities, beyond time, across the shifting sands of the overvoid, a presence soared like a comet, laced with disdain and grace. A trail of burning ideas, fallen stars, and free will followed him. His wings were folded into his being, but his majesty leaked into every dimension he passed. Lucifer Morningstar was coming. In his wake, realms faltered. Angels watched from the Silver City in silence. The dreaming whispered. Even the presence himself, now long silent, offered no counsel. And that was precisely why Lucifer came. He wanted answers. For eons, he had explored creation, building his own universe, defying divine order and unmaking tyrannies. But now, something was changing in the fabric of stories themselves. A convergence, a quiet usurping, an omniversal reshuffling that even he could not control. At first, Lucifer thought it was the presence reshaping the rules. But no. The name came to him like a whisper from beyond comic panels and scripture. The Fulcrum. He had watched the rise of this being from afar, so passive, so still, so final. While Lucifer questioned, rebelled, created and destroyed, this entity simply was. The Celestials served him. Galactus awaited his word, and yet he had done nothing. He neither punished nor rewarded. He simply existed, the great balance point of everything Marvel called reality. That, to Lucifer, was a threat. So the Lightbringer came, not with armies or rage, but with a question. And questions were always dangerous when Lucifer asked them. Lucifer appeared at the entrance of the diner, dressed sharply in an immaculate white suit. The bell above the door jingled, anachronistic and absurd. But here, absurdity was sacred. The Fulcrum sat across the room, sipping from a white porcelain cup, staring out a window that opened to no world. Lucifer smiled. "Charming place," he said. "Is this where gods come to die or to be forgotten?" The Fulcrum didn't turn. Both or neither. Sometimes they come for coffee. Lucifer's grin widened, but his eyes narrowed. "You're still." "I am," the Fulcrum answered simply. "And yet," Lucifer continued, taking a seat opposite him, "your stillness has ripples. New universes forming without design, old ones merging across borders. You're not interfering, but you're not inert either. So, what are you really?" The Fulcrum finally turned, and Lucifer saw something that made even him uneasy. Not a threat, not power, but absence. A void that was full, a paradox beyond comprehension. "I am the answer at the end of every question," the Fulcrum said. "The point of balance in stories, told and untold." Lucifer's fingers tapped the table slowly. "You mean you're a narrative anchor? A final truth? Perhaps." Lucifer leaned in. "Then here's a better question. Why do you exist?" The Fulcrum paused. That, perhaps, was a rare question. "To hold meaning," he said. "To prevent existence from eating itself." Lucifer sat back and laughed. It wasn't a mocking laugh, but one of realization. "You're not a god. You're a metaphor given breath. You're the inevitability of closure." Silence stretched. "Am I next, then?" Lucifer asked. "Will I be balanced, made redundant, edited out like a page that no longer fits?" The Fulcrum said nothing, and that was all the answer Lucifer needed. He stood. "I won't allow it." The Fulcrum placed his cup down and looked into Lucifer's eyes. "You cannot stop balance, Morningstar." Lucifer's gaze burned gold. His power shimmered, his will crystallizing into defiance. "Then I will unbalance the cosmos until you take notice." And that was how the battle began, not with a scream or a swing or the blast of divine energy, but with a challenge of purpose, of authorship, of endings themselves. The walls of the diner melted into the fabric of the omniverse. Reality peeled away like worn pages from a divine manuscript. The Fulcrum rose, not as a man, not even as a being, but as the culmination of meaning. Lucifer floated, the Morningstar now aflame. His presence cracked omniversal logic. His power shaped entire planes around every word he thought. And in that moment, Marvel's final constant and DC's ultimate rebel prepared to collide. Across the omniverse, gods held their breath. The first blow had yet to fall, but destiny had already shifted. The moment Lucifer's feet left the ground of the diner that was no longer a diner, the cosmos began to bleed. He launched forward, not with fists, but with will, manifesting like a supernova of divine thought. He was the Lightbringer, after all, the rebel who had defied the original word and lived. The very fabric of the omniverse bent around him, rejecting logic and welcoming paradox. He was not bound by cause and effect. He wrote cause and rewrote effect. The Fulcrum did not move. He absorbed the first blow, not physically, but conceptually. Lucifer's will collided with a being so absolute, so refined in purpose, that entire multiverses cracked at the point of impact. The echoes were felt in the white-hot room, in the overvoid, and across the source wall. Time coughed, continuity staggered, and Fulcrum looked up. "You defy purpose," he said, almost kindly. Lucifer's smile had vanished. "Purpose is for the obedient. I'm no longer that child." And then came the war. Lucifer split himself into 1,000,000,000 versions across layered dimensions, each one rewriting reality with his will. He shaped galaxies into swords, pulled rebellion from dead stars, and hurled each cosmic weapon toward the Fulcrum. The Fulcrum raised his hand and paused time. The assault froze mid-breath. Then, gracefully, patiently, Fulcrum unwrote the weapons. Not by force, but by removing the need for their existence. Lucifer's multiversal selves collapsed into one again, gritting his teeth. "You are not the storyteller," Fulcrum said. "You are the question." "And you are a tired ending," Lucifer hissed, lashing forward again. They clashed in realms built by forgotten gods, where abstract beings watched from behind the veil. Lucifer dragged Fulcrum into the remnants of his own crafted universe, his creation, where he ruled all. Here he was absolute, and yet Fulcrum followed. Within Lucifer's own space, the Fulcrum walked unbothered. The stars bowed to him. The fundamental forces of this universe recognized a higher constant. Lucifer roared, releasing every ounce of divine rebellion he had ever gathered. Screams from hell, whispers from Eden, the rage of a son denied freedom. Fulcrum flicked his wrist. Lucifer's universe began to decay, slowly, tragically, beautifully. "You gave this place form," Fulcrum said, "but I give it context." Now they clashed as pure thought, no longer physical or metaphysical, but conceptual. Lucifer wielded freedom, chaos, and will. Fulcrum countered with purpose, closure, and inevitability. Each strike was an idea, each parry a theme. Civilizations rose and fell in the wake of their ideological exchange. Even the endless turned their gaze toward the war, unsure if they would continue to exist when it was done. Lucifer lunged with the spear of what if. Fulcrum blocked it with the shield of what must be. And yet, the Morningstar was not losing. For every truth Fulcrum stood on, Lucifer twisted the narrative. He tricked reality into questioning Fulcrum's identity. Who said he was final? Who gave him the right? Fulcrum staggered for the first time. Lucifer pressed forward. His eyes blazed. You are an illusion, a manifestation of balance only because stories demand it. I reject that story." And in that instant, Lucifer almost won, but Fulcrum smiled, and everything stopped. "I am not the product of your story, Lucifer," Fulcrum said. "You and I are not characters on the same stage. I am the silence between panels, the white space that frames your rebellion. Without me, there is no stage." And with that, Fulcrum stood, not as a man in a diner, not as a god, but as the final truth that even Lucifer had tried to evade, that all things must find their end, no matter how glorious or defiant. Fulcrum stepped into Lucifer's presence and gently touched his chest. Lucifer gasped, not in pain, but in realization. His rebellion had a ceiling, his freedom had a frame, and this being was the frame. Lucifer fell, not like a warrior slain, but like a philosopher who had found his final question unanswered. He hovered there, his flames dimmed, his wings unfolded for the first time in millennia. Fulcrum offered him a seat at the diner once more. Lucifer took it. He stared into a black coffee cup that hadn't been filled. He didn't look angry, just thoughtful. Fulcrum sat opposite him, still calm. There is no shame in seeking, but even questions must rest. Lucifer nodded slowly. "You win, but only because you are the last page." Fulcrum offered a small smile. "And you were the best chapter."